But what would have hurt it eternally and converted it into a single party dynastic autocracy had the 42nd Amendment, which was authenticated and which the president signed and came into effect on the 2nd of January 1977. Mrs. Gandhi, or the emergency cabal, had converted India from a multi-party democracy into a single-party dynastic autocracy by Article 32A of the Constitution, brought in by the 42nd Amendment.
लोगों को मालूम है सेक्युलरिज्म और सोशलिज्म के वो प्रस्तावना में नहीं थे, पहले प्रियम्बल में नहीं थे, बाद में इसको निकालने के प्रयत्न हुआ नहीं है, चर्चा हुई, दोनों प्रकार के आर्गुमेंट्स हुए, तो क्या वो रहनी चाहिए प्रस्तावना में, ये विचार होना चाहिए.
Prastavana is the preamble. Now, this is what the original preamble said when the Constitution was adopted on the 26th of November 1949. The preamble of the Constitution serves as a statement clarifying the guiding principles and purpose behind the Constitution of India. When the Constitution first came into force on the 26th of January 1950, the preamble stated, and here's a copy of it, it says that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic. It doesn't say sovereign socialist democratic republic. It says sovereign democratic republic to secure all its citizens. It then goes ahead and then further says justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, liberty, equality, justice and fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution. This is the original preamble. There is no word, no mention of the word secular and socialist. But it is not, viewers, that our founding fathers did not want to talk about it. They did. This socialist, secular, democratic republic was actually inserted. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic was inserted in 1975. These words, socialist, secular, democratic republic, were deliberately inserted. These two words were inserted, socialist and secular, in 1977, 2nd January 1977. Now, in the midst of the emergency, while Indira Gandhi government was curbing civil liberties and jailing political opponents, Parliament enacted the 42nd Amendment, often referred to as a mini constitution because of the sheer number of changes introduced. The 42nd Amendment greatly expanded the powers of the centre. The 42nd Amendment Act 1976 was passed during emergency period 1975 to 77. The preamble was changed. Words socialist and secular were added. Sovereign democratic republic was changed to sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. Unity of the nation was changed to unity and integrity of the nation. Now, it's not that our founding fathers did not discuss this during the Constituent Assembly debates. Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, the Constitution's chief architect, opposed the inclusion of the words socialist and secular. He viewed socialism as a provisional policy, not a constitutional mandate. Baba Sahib Ambedkar believed that the future of such policies should be left to the government of the day. Bharat should be allowed to evolve and adopt a policy that would suit it at that period in time, not that it would be bound by it in the preamble itself. That's what his argument was. He argued that stating socialism as an immutable principle in the preamble would undermine democratic flexibility. That was the forethought and vision of Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar said, and I quote, What should be the policy of the state are matters which must be decided by the people themselves according to the time and circumstances. It cannot be laid down in the constitution itself because that is destroying democracy altogether. Sardar Patel, the Home Minister, Union Home Minister, at that time said, the Iron Man, he said, you cannot comprehend socialism by reading textbooks or listening to learned speeches. You must first understand what it means in practice and how the ground has to be prepared for it. Unlike many who indulge in parrot cry of socialism, I have no property of my own. Before you talk of socialism, you must ask yourself how much wealth you have treated by your own labor. What is necessary for us to learn? How to produce wealth and thereafter to think what to do with it. So many of our founding fathers were opposed and they deliberated, discussed this, and at all points, viewers, they were very, very clear that Bharat was inherently inclusive. That's why the word secular need not be there. And Bharat should have the flexibility, that's the beauty of democracy, to add that word socialist limited Bharat's democratic vision and outlook, could not have the flexibility as per the time. That was the vision of our founding fathers back in 1949. Look what happened in 77. And even after Indira Gandhi was defeated, the Janata Party could not undo this. And Dattatreya Hosabale is now saying, let's debate, discuss and rekindle and bring back perhaps the original spirit of our constitution that lies in its preamble. Let's go across to our guests. There are multiple arguments. Let's understand this. The key arguments for and against altering the preamble, the 42nd Amendment. One, it is undemocratic. The context of amendment was made during emergency 1975-77, marked by suspended civil liberties, press censorship, mass arrests, and nearly 55 MPs locked, put behind bars. It lacked democratic legitimacy. Parliament functioned under coercion and restricted dissent. Secondly, violation of the Constituent Assembly's original vision. Socialist and secular included. Dr. Ambedkar had warned against overloading the constitution with ideology. Thirdly, political motivation, seen as an ideological imposition by ruling Congress to legitimize policies and centralize power. Attempt to embed party ideology into constitution. And distortion of basic structure. Supreme Court upheld that preamble is part of the constitution's basic structure. Inserting new terms like socialist was seen as tampering with its very essence, its DNA. Lack of public consultation, no wide-scale public debate or referendum on altering the preamble. Changes made without adequate dialogue with the people, violating the spirit of democracy itself. Sixth, rigid interpretation. The inclusion of socialists raised concerns about interpretative rigidity. Critics feared it could be used to justify state overreach. 7. Set a dangerous precedent. Altering preamble for political reasons opened the door for future governments to alter constitutional values to suit agendas. Threatened the stability and sanctity of the constitution. So many issues. Let's go across to our guest as a straight face-off between the BJP and the Congress. Ajay Alok, national spokesperson of the BJP with us. Shyam Prasad Meka, leader of the Congress party with us. And even as we open up the debate, there's a fresh post on X that's come from Rahul Gandhi. And he says the mask of the RSS has come off again, Ajay Alok ji. He's further saying the constitution irks them because it speaks of equality, secularism and justice. RSS, BJP don't want the constitution. They want Manusmriti. They aim to strip the marginalized and the poor of their rights and enslave them again. Snatching a powerful weapon like the constitution from them is their real agenda. RSS should stop dreaming this dream. We will never let them succeed. Every patriotic Indian will defend the constitution until their last breath, he says. Ajay ji.
Do you really give importance to what Rahul Gandhi says? Do you take him to be that serious? Here what we are discussing, what you are talking and the whole nation is knowing, that when this constitution was altered, I'll give you a small chronology of things. Jawaharlal Nehru, when he was not elected in 1951, when constitution was taken up formally by India, in 1951 there was first amendment, that too by a government which was not elected. Was this right? Since 1951, they have been killing the constitution. A slow poisoning of constitution has been done, and the soul of constitution was destroyed in 1975. More than 80 amendments has alone been done by the Congress. This is what? Just for the cost of appeasement. And the first amendment was right to speech and right to public opinion was curbed. That was the first amendment. That shows the intent of autocracy right from the first generation, from Nehru to Indira to Rajiv, Sonia and now Rahul Gandhi. They have been continuously murdering the constitution for their own gains, for the gains of appeasement, for the gains of every little thing, whatever the things you have mentioned. Now, will not Baba Sahab, while delivering the constitution to this country, was very clear that there should not be any appeasement, there should not be imposition of ideas, there should not be imposition of your own will, the constitution will be for all. Then why this amendment? And when this amendment was done, country was facing emergency. There was nothing called a democratic process. The whole opposition was behind bars. Parliament was not taken into confidence. All these things, and they amended the constitution. And they kept on doing it for the cost of appeasement politics. Now today this question has come up, and we are discussing it. That was the whole motive. That was the sole motive, that discussion and debate all across the country should happen. And people, and especially this generation, I'll say a neo 2000, after 2000 born generation, should know what happened in constitution, what happened during emergency, how constitution was rattled, who did it, why they did it, under whose pressure they did it, how the 21 months of emergency, what was the state of India, how it used to function, why there was post castration in Delhi or everywhere. I mean, so many atrocities are filmed that Congress party actually they have not apologized yet, and they will never apologize, because in this democratic India, which is the largest democracy in the world, if one person has dared to become an autocrat, and she became, and she proved it, that was Indira Gandhi only. It's not easy to do that. That in India somebody becomes an autocrat. Indira Gandhi proved it that she was an autocrat by doing so. And repeatedly Congress has never apologized to them till date, and they will not, because they consider it as their golden period, as their golden rule. They do not consider it as a black period. They do not consider it as murder of democracy. जैसे हम संविधान हत्या दिवस कहते हैं, वो इसे परिवार संपूर्णता दिवस मनाते हैं. This was the family completion day. And look what happened. Jayaprakash Narayan started the movement. Samajwadi movement, the famous JP movement started. And all the Samajwadis of that point of time, may it be Lalu Yadav, may it be Mulayam Singh Yadav or clan, everybody converted to Parivarwadi, following the footsteps of Congress. And today they don't have any guts to criticize what happened during emergency. This is the whole story.
Okay, let Shyam Prasad Mekha ji.
Young generation of this country should know it.
Let Shyam Prasad Mekha ji respond. Some questions to both the Congress and the BJP right now, but after their initial responses. Yes, Shyam Prasad ji. Namaste.
No, Anand, namaste. See, our friend Ajay Alok launched a diatribe against Congress instead of focusing on the current issue. So should I be responding to his diatribe, or should I be sticking to the issue at hand?
They are both interlinked. Because it's the past that currently haunts the country.
I'll tell you.
And also influences the future, sir.
I'll tell you. See, the current issue, as you have told me, is the Dattatreya Hosabale talking about these two words in the preamble, right? And why our friend launched this diatribe on Congress, I don't understand. Okay, fine. That's the only way the BJP can actually live their lives. Okay, that's fine. Now, coming to this issue. What is the issue? It's not surprising. Dattatreya Hosabale saying, objecting to these two words. What these two words? The entire constitution also, he has objection. He started with two words. These people, the RSS people, no, they are anti-constitution. We know about it. It's not surprising. It's what they believe in. He's coming out and saying it once again. And it's our job to go ahead and tell the people of the country that, hey, this is what is happening. That is about it. I know.
Is it?
Are they for the constitution? The RSS never accepted the tricolor. Okay? Until recently, they were not flying the tricolor. They never accepted the constitution. Go back and read what they wrote in Organizer in 1951. See, it is clear, it is very clear. What is so surprising? Now Dattatreya Hosabale said something, or why should we discuss about it? Oh yeah, what about only these two words? They have a problem with each and every word and every article, every schedule of the constitution. These people are Manuvadis. They don't like the way Indian Republic is. They want a Hindu Rashtra which is driven by the Manusmriti. It's very clear. Everybody knows about it.
See,
Why
sir,
are we even worried about?
no, 1 minute. There is a problem here, sir, Shyam Prasad Mikaji. One is, sir, the Congress party cannot whitewash what they are trying to, what they have done. They have altered the DNA. The party that claims Samvidhan badal denge, they were the first to change the Samvidhan. No. And sir, debased it too. They debased it too. They did it at a time when civil liberties were in jail. The other thing, Shyam Prasad Mekaji, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, when he picks up the Samvidhan today, Mr. Jairam Ramesh and anybody else, with due respect, when they pick up the constitution copy and say we are standing for Samvidhan, they are showcasing the Samvidhan with the 44th amendment. That means that they agree that 42nd amendment was wrong and that the 44th amendment that undid Article 32A and many of the other aspects of the 44th amendment was right. That means the Congress party agrees that Indira Gandhi ji was wrong.
So basically you want to say Indira Gandhi did something wrong. You want to say Jawaharlal Nehru did something wrong. So that's the only existence.
No, what
BJP.
they did wrong continues to hurt this country, sir. What they did something wrong, sir, when the Congress, Shyam Prasad Mukherjee, I am saying, when the Congress comes out and says that this government wants to change the Samvidhan, then it's too rich because they are the ones who have amended this constitution more than 100 times even before the BJP came into power. They changed the DNA of the power. They changed the preamble at a time when democracy was in jail, and they are coming out and telling people we are here to save the Samvidhan. It's quite rich, sir. Isn't it quite rich? Unless they turn around and say what we did in the past was wrong, we are sorry for it, we will not do that again. It should not happen. Have they ever said that?
Anand, Congress party expressed its regret about emergency multiple times.
When, sir? Which top leader from the Nehru family, which top leader who was an office bearer or a constitutional post ever said it, sir?
Anand, you are a Parivarvadi.
Me, sir?
You want only from the family. You don't want any Congress person to speak.
It was the Parivar which did it for Parivarvad. It was a Parivar which has always held a position of authority and power within the party. Tell me, sir, which Congress party president has apologized? Tell me, sir, which National Advisory Council head has apologized? Tell me, sir, which Congress or UPA-led Prime Minister has apologized for the emergency? Because it came under the Congress party and its foremost leader, Indira Gandhi. It has to come either from the Parivar of Indira Gandhi or from a Congress party president. It has not come so far. Please tell me if it is there. I stand corrected. We will tell our viewers immediately, sir.
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, from 75 to 77, there was emergency, there were excesses. Yes, Congress agreed. Congress regrets that. And
who has said it, sir? Officially, who has said that they altered the DNA and they mutated the preamble?
No, we never altered the DNA.
Of course, sir. The DNA was altered when the preamble was mutated, sir. The preamble was forcibly, these words were included despite the vision of and wishes of Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Those who stand and claim to be Ambedkarites should be holding the original preamble if they are Ambedkarites. If they hold the preamble if they hold the constitution and the preamble from 1977 and 78 onwards, then they are not Ambedkarites. Because Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar was against the words secular and socialist being inserted in the preamble. We have quoted that. So then it's hypocrisy, sir. You are not an Ambedkarite then. That's what I'm trying to say.
Anand, don't try to mislead your viewers, okay?
Where am I misleading, sir? Please probe me.
I am telling you.
Please tell me.
Dr. Ambedkar says The constitution, the entirety itself is secular. There is no need to have the word.
Correct. So he
is
said
not
it right.
opposing.
So he said
He's
it
not
right.
opposing,
He said
okay?
that it doesn't need to
Be
have
clear.
it. He said
Be
that
clear about it.
that the constitution
Doesn't
itself
need
is
to
dharm
have.
nirpeksh, so don't insert it in the preamble. He said it. Then why was it inserted? Now, if those who inserted the word in the preamble claim to be Ambedkarites, are they Ambedkarites? Dr. Ambedkar also said that inserting the word socialist is going to hamper and it's against the democratic principles because it will not allow Bharat to act as the change of its time. They have stopped it. Can they claim to be Ambedkarites? They are not Ambedkarites. Those who hold the constitution as per 1978, sir, are not Ambedkarites because they have never said that this is they are not going with the vision of our Dr. Ambedkar.
So Anand, you mean to say constitution, the original is the only thing that you are going to accept? None of the amendments are acceptable to Anand Ranganathan.
Oh, no, sir. Anand Ranganathan, what he has to say, let him say, sir. I am Anand Narasimhan. Please don't confuse. That's exactly what the Congress party is trying to do. Confuse one with the other and say this is true. In reality, sir. That's what is happening. Sir, if you are an Ambedkarite, you have to go by the vision of Dr. Ambedkar.
Amendments to the
Sir,
constitution.
if you are an Ambedkarite, if the Congress party claims to hold the vision of Ambedkar, then you can't quote Ambedkar selectively. Then you have to agree with Ambedkar on the constitution and on the preamble. Ajay Alok, right or wrong, sir? Can they claim to be Ambedkarites?
You guys, you are so
Anand,
narrow-minded.
you are
No, sir, we
absolutely
are
right,
not
and it's
narrow-minded.
very
The
foolish to
narrow-mindedness has come from the leadership of the Congress party under Indira Gandhi, and thereafter when Rajiv Gandhi said, if required, emergency was right and we will continue to hold that position. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi is on record making that statement. So then, sir, the Congress cannot come here and try and say, oh, we are here to protect the Samvidhan, because no, they haven't protected the Samvidhan. They are the ones who have altered the Samvidhan. That's the reality, sir. Ajay Alok ji, are they really Ambedkarites? Those who claim to be Ambedkarites, if they don't question this act by the Congress party, notwithstanding that even the Janata Party could not change it. Even the Janata Party has not walked the lines of Dr. Ambedkar.
That's what
The Janata Party with the Jansangh.
Now let Ajay Alok ji
It's
speak.
really foolish to expect. Yeah, it will be really foolish to expect any congressman claims to be Ambedkarite. They cannot be. They hated Ambedkar right from the beginning. It took us 40 long years to get Ambedkar ji a Bharat Ratna. Otherwise, Nehru gave Bharat Ratna to himself. Indira Gandhi presented Bharat Ratna to herself, and Rajiv Gandhi posthumously within 1 month he got Bharat Ratna from the Narasimha Rao government. This was the state. Now see, the coercion of democracy started in 75, and in the last 50 years, from coercion to correction is happening in the last 10 years. I mean, just imagine this 370, triple talaq. What were all these things? This was a blot on the Indian constitution. Providing any secular country, if you can name any secular country, do they have triple talaq? Do they have 370 in their country? I mean, you have 2 constitutions and you let that happen. Do they have triple talaq? No. Do they have Waqf board? No. Everything had a constitutional sanctity. For the last 60 years, Congress has been making Islamization of Indian constitution very silently. This is the fact.
What has the BJP been doing, Ajay?
Also, this amendment was done only to...
What has the BJP
yes,
done?
we have been trying to improve. See, we have removed 370. We have removed 370. We have incorporated
leader
into us. We have removed 35A. We have removed triple talaq.
Has a single BJP leader ever
See,
agreed with
BJP
the
has
RSS's position? Do you believe, if you believe that
Every
you
single
are the
top-
ones who are walking on the path of Dr. Ambedkar, in the last 11 years has a top BJP leader ever said that the words socialist and secular are wrong? They are against Ambedkar ji's vision.
First of all, we never said it is right to alter the preamble of constitution, because ये प्राण थी, आत्मा थी. आप संविधान, they are talking about संविधान. Indira Gandhi kept the संविधान on tak, and Rahul Gandhi keeps संविधान in his pocket. This is the respect for constitution they have. ताक पे संविधान को सब 75-76 में रख के 42nd में
What
लगाया.
the Congress party does, we'll ask the Congress party.
Rahul
What
Gandhi
is the
खटाखट
BJP
करते
doing,
रहते
sir?
हैं.
What is the BJP doing? Now the point is, sir, every time
The
the issue of
BJP has done
constitution,
the
constitutional
BJP has
provisions
done
have been
Naren-
spoken of by the RSS, the BJP has become nervous because it feels that it loses electoral traction. Now, ahead of Bihar, has this made the BJP nervous?
Do you really think it's going to lose the electoral traction? All the Dalits in this country, they want to see the constitution which Baba Sahab gave them. There were 14 pictures of our deities, including Lord Ram, Lord Shiva, Lord Buddha. what Buddhism Baba Sahib embraced before his death. There are pictures of that in the older constitution before 76. And in the new constitution, there is no pictures of all those things. We want the old constitution.
Just like
everybody wants, every Ambedkarite or every Dalit of this country wants that old constitution.
Ajay ji,
and if there is a discussion happening,
ji,
what's troubling Congress?
Ajay ji, just like we are asking the Congress party name one particular top leader from the Nehru family or from their party president or a UPA prime minister who's talked about or apologized for the emergency. I'm asking you, name one prime minister, one party president, one top leader of the BJP who's come out and said that the preamble should not have been altered and it is against Ambedkar's vision and we should make a collective, we need to make a collective effort. That socialist and secular should be removed.
Today only Jitendra Singh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, they have already given their comment that what was done in 1976 is absolutely heinous. It was a crime. They have given up. There is an on-record statement.
They have said
we are
what
not hiding,
was
and
done
don't forget,
sir,
our Prime Minister, our Defence Minister, our Prime Minister, our Defence Minister, and most of the senior leadership are from RSS only. We are not differing. I be out what you are saying. What the RSS has said. इसकी गहन समीक्षा करनी चाहिए. ये दोनों शब्द हटाए क्यों नहीं गए? तो समीक्षा करने में भी कांग्रेस को दिक्कत है. तो संविधान चुपता किस है? What Rahul Gandhi just now said, RSS को संविधान चुपता है. No. संविधान कांग्रेस को चुपता है, गांधी परिवार को चुपता है. और ये एक बार नहीं, लगातार होते आया है. I'll give you 3 examples. 1959, the first communist government was dismissed by Nehru on insistence of Indira Gandhi, mentioned in autobiography by Nehru. What kind of autocrat Indira Gandhi was? She showed that way back in 1959. 1951, I said Nehru amended the constitution first time without getting elected. That is the autocratic mind. Now come Indira Gandhi's regime. Sanjay Gandhi, just a mere MP, but he used to make all the decisions, formulate the policy, and he was a super PM. Then comes Sonia Gandhi. She went ahead one step more, made the Prime Minister puppet. NSE was the highest council. This again shows the autocracy. Then comes the Rahul Gandhi. A cabinet dissent, he just tore off that ordinance passed by the cabinet and the Prime Minister. What is this? This family yields extra constitutional authority. They don't care for constitution. For them, is their whim, their fancy is the constitution. And people of this country should abide by that. And every congressman, all sensible congressmen have started leaving the party only because of this. Only because of this, whatever they have left.
Right.
Because the autocratic style of functioning has led to this country reach a terrible end, and now we are discussing all these things.
We have to hear the top voices of the BJP echo the RSS and show their intent. Who are true Ambedkarites? Are those who are holding the constitution from 1978 onwards really Ambedkarites? If the Congress party is showing that constitution, that means they are agreeing that the 42nd amendment was wrong. Shyam Prasad Mekaji, final word. We should have Ram Madhav ji joining us any moment. Ji.
Yeah, very quickly, 42nd amendment, bulk of it was undone by 44th amendment. Okay, we believe in the constitution, we believe in the amendment process, that's fine. Okay, now Alok ji was very nicely talking about every Dalit should be supported. What does he mean? He comes with a Manuvadi mindset. What does he mean?
No, why is
only
Manuvad
Dalit
wrong?
Should, no, I'll tell you.
Don't try and make our script. After Manu Smriti, there was Parasara Smriti, there were so many other Smritis, sir. You should know our culture. And what Manu talks about, why are you? This is a leftist narrative which doesn't even understand what Manu said. And what Manu Smriti outlines and describes is far more detailed, and how society was at that time. That's when that Manu Smriti was spoken of. How society should be governed. Now, has the RSS ever at any point said that the constitution should be like Manusmriti, or have they said that it should go back and envision and outline the vision of Baba Sahib Ambedkar and the core architects of our constitution? What have they said?
Manusmriti,
Tell me one, sir. You know, this is maybe and therefore. This is the classic Distorian logic that you are using of maybe and therefore. Maybe they want to do it and therefore this conclusion. Sir, there is no proof. There is no proof. There is no proof, sir. Sir, till the time the Congress party accepts that the 42nd amendment was wrong, till the time they accept that they are actually not espousing Dr. Ambedkar's vision. Dr. Ambedkar did not want the word socialist. He said our entire constitution's nature itself is inclusive. The way word secular has been debased to stand what it means in the Indian context, he had outlined it then itself. You yourself said he didn't want it in the preamble. These two words are there. As long as these two words are there, those who hold this constitution cannot claim to be Ambedkarites. They are not, sir. That's what I'm trying to say. I have to pause there, going across. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you very much. Going across to Sri Ram Madhav, member of the National Executive of the RSS. Ram Madhav ji, namaste, Jai Hind. Your position, your opinion on what Dattatreya Hosabale is saying. Time and again, this has come from the RSS, but never echoed by the BJP, sir.
Take the spirit of it. Primarily, these two ideas, secularism and socialism, were inserted in 1976 through the 42nd Amendment. By now, everybody knows about it, everybody knew about it. Now, those two ideas, especially the first word socialist, has lost its relevance once in 1991. We decided to adopt liberalized economic model. As far as secularism is concerned, this debate happened in Constituent Assembly itself. You yourself just now highlighted it. Ambedkar took the view that the spirit of the Constitution is anyway secular. So there is no need to insert that word secular. We don't have to impose any such ideas on the future generations of this country. And very surprisingly, not many Congress people know about it. Even Jawaharlal Nehru concurred with Ambedkar's view. And Nehru said, yes, let us not insert this word into the constitution now and create a confusion, because primarily the line between so-called secularism and what you call as religiosity in India's context is very thin. I give you one example, Anand. Rafale aircraft came to Chandigarh 2 years ago. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh went to, inaugurate them or whatever you call it. But there was a proper worship, puja conducted to, actually induct Rafales into Indian Air Force. Now, is it secular or communal? Is it a secular act or a communal act? So that's why Nehru, Ambedkar both said, spirit of the constitution, you understand, we respect all religions. There is no need for inserting that word. But through backdoor in 42 second amendments to constitution, 42nd amendment, it was inserted. None of us have an objection to the spirit of secularism. The reason being, the country historically has been secular in that sense. We always respected all religions. Word there in constitution or not there in constitution, just tell me, between 1950 and 1976, this word was not there in the constitution. Did it mean that India was not secular between 50 and 76? It was always secular. Before independence also we were secular, because the Hindu in this country always believed that I must respect all the different religions. All different religions lead to same reality, same truth. That is the true spirit of secularism. But why we opposed that word essentially was that it was a grossly misused word in our constitution. In the name of secularism, what actually used to happen in our country was a sort of appeasement politics. In the name of secularism, you promote certain kind of fundamentalism and then you frown upon religious, cultural practices of this country, majority people of this country. That is what we said. In the name of secularism, what you are practicing is pseudo-secularism, hence it should go. And this word is a foreign element in our constitution, it should go. But yes, there is a constitutional challenge in that, because in one judgment in 1994, Supreme Court held in Keshwananda Bharati judgment, I believe, that basic structure cannot be altered. Now, but the funniest part here is, Anand, from then to today, in last 3 decades, no judgment has defined what is the basic structure. What do we mean by that?
True. Ram Madhav ji, the basic structure was altered in 1977. It was altered again in 1978 under the Janata Party. 42nd and 44th Amendment altered the basic structure, because that's the preamble.
No, that is the reason.
Yeah.
No, that is the reason why in 1994 judgment, the Supreme Court held that hereafter you can change anything in the constitution, but you cannot change the basic structure. But the problem is, what do you mean by basic structure? No, then, every judgment interprets basic structure in some way or the other. Somebody says, fundamental rights is part of basic structure. Somebody says, no, Article 1 to 5 are part of basic structure. There is no clear definition. Of course, everybody says preamble is basic structure.
Right.
Now, how can you bind future generations? Ambedkar was very categorical. In 1953, somebody says, Ambedkar says in the parliament, I am ready to burn this constitution if it is not useful for the future generations. Let future generations, let's posterity decide what is good for them. Now, how can you bring in this argument that, basic structure, hey, you can't change it? Let people in the parliament, sitting in the parliament, wise men, let them discuss, debate, and if secularism doesn't fit into today's discourse, let it go.
True. Now, the thing is, our first Prime Minister was a Pandit, Education Minister was a Maulana, we had a President who was a Gyani. So, like you said, inclusivity and is integral to our entire system. So, at that time, we don't need these words. But if you look at the Congress's argument, they believe it is RSS's Manuvad. You want to bring Manusmriti. Then they say this is a Hindutva agenda. You saw Mr. Rahul Gandhi's current post. He's just posted on Twitter X again saying it is the RSS which does not respect the constitution as it is. It is the RSS that wants to change the constitution.
No, absolutely. See, those who criticize everything that is Hindu in the name of Manuvad. Now, you just use certain words to defame many noble things. If you want to kill a dog, call it a mad dog. The saying goes. So, everything you want to blame, you say it is part of Manuvad. Nobody has read Manu. Do you know something very interesting, Anand? In India, you earlier was mentioning about different smritis.
Yeah.
India has had about 12 smritis so far. In fact, many say that the current constitution is Ambedkar smriti. These are all different stages. But unlike Ambedkar smriti, unlike the current constitution, none of the previous smritis was ever made mandatory by any king. The so-called Manuvad was not imposed by any king on any people. It was a set of moral guidelines. Those who believed in them, believed in them. Those who did not believe in them, did not believe in them. And Manu Dharma Shastra contained so many important moral and ethical values. There are certain things that are objectionable, discard them. I hope those who argue about Manu Dharma Shastra also argue about the texts of other religions also,
Yes.
which contain so many such aspects which are not only irrelevant today, but are very dangerous to today's social life and today's religious harmony. But they don't talk about those scriptures. They don't talk about the books of other religions. They keep harping on Manuvad without reading Manu. That is the problem with these people. RSS has always stood for all good values of our country that are contained in our ancient scriptures. But RSS always maintained that whatever needs to be discarded, we should discard. Even if it is in Manu Dharma Shastra, even if it is in some other scripture, if it is not relevant to this day, we should discard it. Having said it, I tell you something very interesting, Anand. Not many people know about the history of these Congress leaders. Ambedkar, in his own way, to remove certain anomalies of Hindu society, tried to bring in Hindu Code Bill.
Yeah.
In early 1950s, who opposed that Hindu Code Bill? All the top Congress leaders. And their argument was, this is going against the established, what they describe today as Manusmriti, the principles of Manusmriti. It was they who opposed Ambedkar. I don't want to name because I don't want to defame any respected leaders of that time, but very big leader of that time tells in the Constitutional Assembly to Ambedkar, Mr. Ambedkar, I can't support your proposal to amend or reform Hinduism because my wife will be angry with me. This was the history of Congress. And Ambedkar was to be supported by Nehru. Nehru said, no, I am with you, I will support you. But Nehru down cold feet. They were all Manuwadis in that sense. I'm not saying Manu in any negative sense, but they were supporting that very same Manuwad at that time. So this is all almost the discourse of the ignorance. They don't read their own history. And Mr. Jairam Ramesh is suggesting that Dattatreya Hosabale should read a judgment. I tell Jairam Ramesh, he should read the Constituent Assembly debates first. What was the debate about secularism? What was the debate about socialism? You don't read your own history. You don't read your own books. You recommend that others should read.
But ahead of Bihar, is this going to again upset the BJP's juggernaut or the NDA's juggernaut? Because oftentimes the RSS has been blamed for making statements which perhaps hurt them, and especially Bihar. 2015 is an example, Ram Madhavji. Or is the RSS saying, no, let's talk about this. This is important. And do you believe senior leaders of the BJP will also echo or join the chorus?
Look, this was a view about emergency. What all happened at the time of the emergency. The main issue is how the Congress party had gone against the very spirit of the constitution makers, that included Dr. Ambedkar. The very spirit of the constitution was defeated within 25 years of the constitution making, just within 25 years. You know, one should read 3 warnings that Ambedkar gives in his last speech on 25th November 1949, before submitting the final draft before the Constituent Assembly. It's called 3 warning speech. In that he clearly says, I mean, if you don't wisely use this constitution, you will be actually destroying the very spirit of it. It should be in the hands of the wise people. But unfortunately, in 20 years, 25 years, the very Congress leadership has destroyed that very democracy and used a very dark phase of our democratic history, that emergency period, to tamper with the constitution in such a sweeping way. It was a sweeping kind of amendment that was affected to constitution in 1942. Dattatreya Hosabale was talking in that context. It had nothing to do with today's politics, nor was he asking government to do anything today or tomorrow.
Well, he said that इस पर विचार करने की आवश्यकता है. We need to discuss, debate whether or not these words socialist and secular need to be part of our constitution. There should be a conversation around this, and this is perhaps not the first time someone senior within the RSS has echoed this. Sunil Ambedkar ji also spoke somewhere in that direction, if my memory serves me right, in the recent past. My final question. Those who claim to be Ambedkarites, which constitution and which preamble should they actually hold? The 1978 one or the 1949 one? 1951?
Obviously, constitution in whichever form it is there in front of us should be an object of respect for every citizen, Anand. There is no politics about it. Constitution should be the most sacred document for every Indian citizen. It made all of us conscious of our Indianness, our one nationhood. Another matter, that we have been a nation even before the constitution was born. But ever since the constitution came, we all should have total loyalty to this constitution. But that doesn't and shouldn't mean that we do not discuss about what are necessary changes to be brought about in the framing of in the current structure of the constitution. We have amended our constitution 107 times. Do you know, in 250 years of history, American constitution was not amended even 20-25 times. We did it. That itself means that the makers of the constitution, in fact, Ambedkar, as I mentioned earlier, Ambedkar said that let future generations think what is relevant and what is not relevant. In that sense, let there be a debate. Whenever it arises, let there be a healthy discussion. One need not draw any political conclusions about it and then say that this is, some hidden agenda. No hidden agenda. We all respect constitution. We have been respecting it right from the time it was promulgated. We all must continue to respect it. It's not about Dalits or RSS or some other group. It's for every citizen of India. 1.4 billion Indians must be very respectful, reverential towards our constitution.
Ram Madhavji, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaskar.
Going straight across to Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad, the former US Ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador, namaste. This is Anand Narsaman here. Thank you for your time.
Well, hello India. It's great to be with you.
Lovely to have you with us here on CNN News 18, sir. My first question to you, the 12-day war. What were the objectives and who actually met them? Because all three parties in this, Iran, Israel and the United States, claim they have met their respective objectives. So who won this war?
Well, first, it's important to recognize that what happened was one of the most important events in the region, perhaps in the last decade or even more. Clearly, the United States and Israel did degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities. Iran has been seeking a nuclear capability for the last several decades, and it was making progress. But as to how much was achieved, I think it will take time to be confident as to how much degradation did occur. It will depend on what Iran does, of course, but in terms of allowing IAEA to determine what has happened, there is some uncertainty. But I think it's at this point, one cannot say definitively that while progress towards meeting objectives were made on the part of the U.S. and Israel, but whether it totally has eliminated the Iranian capabilities for some time to come, we will need to wait and see. An assessment will have to happen, and that will take time.
President Trump's claim that Iran's nuclear capability has been obliterated versus Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's claim that we continue to retain our nuclear capabilities. Now, this is where it stands. So how is there going to be lasting peace?
Well, as I said, with regard to the nuclear claims, there's no question that what the U.S. did was extraordinary, coming all the way from the United States, attacking with relative precision the targets that it had selected and return safely home. You heard from the Iranian foreign minister today that substantial damage was done, although the leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, had said no damage had been done. And the IAEA leader said that he also believed that the centrifuges in Fordow, which was the main enrichment facility, is no longer active. That would indicate that the U.S. attacks were relatively or effective. So, but a full determination, a precise determination of exactly how much damage was done in all the three facilities, it may take time, and one has to be patient.
Ambassador, in your wisdom, how would you read the way the rest of West Asia reacted? Many are questioning the silence of the neighboring Muslim nations, or perhaps even some level, to a certain level, silent cooperation, and also some of their roles in mediation to try and de-escalate the situation. But does this indicate this whole claim of Muslim brotherhood or the Ummah, etc., is perhaps a thing of the past, and that nations are moving towards perhaps a far more liberal outlook, Iran perhaps being the exception?
It is true that over the past several decades, state nationalism in the Middle East, the Islamic countries of the Middle East, has gained at the expense of Pan-Arabism, which at one time under President Nasser's era, several decades ago, was the driving force. Then Islamism became, after the Iranian Revolution in particular, and what happened in Afghanistan with the Soviet invasion, gained. But in recent years, state nationalism has gained, and many of these Islamic conferences, although symbolically important, but in reality have not been very effective in making decisions that has bound states to particular courses of action. You remember one of the fellow South Asian leaders, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, at one point says that OIC was a collection of zeros, and that he needed an alliance with a powerful country, or Pakistan needed to build itself. He may have exaggerated, but nevertheless, you can see in a statement like that the relative limited role that these organizations that indicate solidarity that it can't do or has not done any more than that for at least for the last several decades.
Ambassador, if I may ask you, since you mentioned Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, for America, Iran is a rogue nation and it should not get nuclear. But Pakistan, which is a terror haven, and post Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor, it's right out there for the world to see. But it is weaponized and it's a nuclear nation. How would you explain this dual standard?
Well, terrorism is a big problem. We have suffered from it while we were in Afghanistan, and we have suffered from it in the United States. We fully support India's stand that terrorism as an instrument of policy, it must stop. And that is a very legitimate stand. No nation in the region or anywhere should use terrorism as an instrument of policy. And we have seen even in the case of Pakistan itself that it has suffered from terrorism as well. I hear my very distinguished friend, the foreign minister of India, quoting Mrs. Clinton, that if you keep snakes in your backyard and you only think it will bite those snakes will only bite your neighbor, you miscalculate, they'll bite you as well. So I think it must stop. We have to work together, the United States as a leading world power and India as an emerging global power, and others must work together to make sure that those who use terrorism to advance policy, they are penalized and they are isolated and ostracized.
But Ambassador, many believe President Trump's position leaned more away from India or Bharat and closer to Pakistan, and that may have forced Bharat to recalibrate its priorities and perhaps go back to underlining strategic autonomy. How would you read that? You put out a post where you saw the Raksha Mantri meeting his Russian counterpart, and then you had some concerns. Is Bharat getting closer to Russia again? So how would you read the situation?
I think India has always, even when we haven't had some of the issues of the recent few days or weeks, has followed, while improving relations in recent years with the United States, has stated that it wants to be autonomous. Strategic autonomy has been a priority of India as it has grown in power, economic and military, and in stature internationally. But I believe that strategically, although these episodes come and go, events, we, the United States and India, have a lot in common, especially in the current circumstances, and that is what to do with the rise of China as the global rival of the United States. Remember that when we were in a global rivalry with the Soviet Union, we moved closer to China and contributed a great deal to China's economic growth. And therefore its military power. And we continued even after the Soviet Union was gone, which in my view was a mistake for us to continue as if the Soviets still existed. And we should have continued that path with China. Now, in my view, strategically, we need India. India needs the United States in the new balance of power in Asia and beyond. And it's our national interest, putting, as I said before, some episodic events aside, that fundamentally we need each other and the strategic relationship should continue to grow, be stronger. India also has to consider that strategic autonomy that's respected, but alliances place obligations on allies.
Dangerously close.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Fresh political flashpoint is brewing in Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has lashed out at the Election Commission of India, accusing it of pushing ahead with the special intensive revision of electoral rolls without consulting political parties. Mamata alleges that common Bengalis and migrant workers are being harassed under the garb of voter verification and claims the entire process is being politically driven by BJP's campaign machinery. She says the BJP and the ECI are treating state governments as subservient and warns Bengal is being unfairly targeted, even as Bihar, where the process is also being conducted, is being spared scrutiny. The BJP has hit back. Leader of opposition Suvendu Adhikari has accused Mamata of resorting to appeasement and corruption and claims she is now threatening a constitutional body. Adhikari has demanded action from the Election Commission over her remarks.
Sometimes they do not know where is the villager, especially the poor people, especially the hawkers, bakers, or the poor people, commoners. Where they will get the mother certificate, the father certificate? Is it NRC? Is it they are doing or working to establish the NRC? What is their intention? Please let us clarify.
Is gradually losing her ground due to her high appeasement and huge corruption. For that reason, she is now feeling fierce hawkishness. Due to this reason, she is threatening Election Commission. Election Commission is a constitutional body. It's an autonomous body. Please take appropriate action against the statement made by a political party leader.
देखिए, चुनाव आयोग एक स्वायत्त संस्था है और उनकी तरफ से पॉलिसीज बनाई जाती है। उद्देश्य क्या होता है कि निष्पक्ष चुनाव हो, कहीं कोई कदाचार नहीं हो और कोई भी व्यक्ति अपने वोटिंग राइट से वंचित ना हो जाए। विपक्ष के साथी हमेशा फर्जी वोटों की चर्चा करते हैं, उस दिशा में अपनी चिंता व्यक्त करते हैं। चुनाव आयोग की तरफ से एक गाइडलाइन जारी की गई है जिसमें सत्यापन की बात कही गई है। होता यह है कि कोई भी नियम जब बनता है तो उसके प्रैक्टिकल क्रियान्वयन में कई बार दिक्कतें आती हैं, तो हमें लगता है कि सबको अपने सुझाव देने चाहिए और जो सबसे उचित और सबसे प्रैक्टिकल फैसला होगा वो चुनाव आयोग की तरफ से किया जाएगा।
Fresh political flashpoint is brewing in Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has lashed out at the Election Commission of India, accusing it of pushing ahead with the special intensive revision of electoral rolls without consulting political parties. Mamata alleges that common Bengalis and migrant workers are being harassed under the garb of voter verification and claims the entire process is being politically driven by BJP's campaign machinery. She says the BJP and the ECI are treating state governments as subservient and warns Bengal is being unfairly targeted, even as Bihar, where the process is also being conducted, is being spared scrutiny. The BJP has hit back. Leader of opposition Suvendu Adhikari has accused Mamata of resorting to appeasement and corruption and claims she is now threatening a constitutional body. Adhikari has demanded action from the Election Commission over her remarks.
Back live. Now, Democratic Party Zoran Mamdani has defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the New York City's mayoral primary on Wednesday. Now, this is a political upset that's being seen as quite startling for this 33-year-old state representative who's now become the city's first Muslim mayor if he wins the general election, which is scheduled to be held in November. But there's been controversy and lots of questions being asked about Zohran himself. Now, who's Zohran Mamdani? He's the son of India-born filmmaker and Padma Bhushan awardee Meera Nair, born to Indian-Ugandan academic Mahmood Mamdani. Now, in a Truth Social post, President Trump described Mamdani as a, and I quote, 100% communist lunatic, unquote, further saying, him being on his way to becoming mayor was ridiculous. Quote, he looks terrible, his voice is grating, he's not very smart, he's got AOC plus 3, dummies all backing him, and even our great Palestinian senator crying Chuck Schumer is groveling over him, unquote. Now, this is part of Trump's Truth Social post. The larger question is, should Bharat be concerned if this controversial Democrat wins? There are many closer homes saying in our own cities we don't have mayors. Why are we so bothered about Mahmood Mamdani? Now, here's why. Mamdani's repeated attacks on India's elected leaders may strain Bharat-US relations. He led anti-CAA protests on December 18th, 2019 and 7th of March 2020. He had alleged ties and has alleged ties to Khalistan-led rallies against the Ayodhya Ram Mandir on the 6th of August 2020. So Zohran Mamdani has also made repeated public statements critical of Bharat's domestic policies, particularly regarding Kashmir and the CAA, often echoing narratives hostile to Bharat. Now, his position may offer legitimacy and platform to separatist voices and anti-India lobbyists within the US and especially New York City, and of course the American policy-making spaces. Now, Zohran Mamdani's socialist policies like rent freezes may conflict with Bharat's market-driven economic approach. Is there much more to it? Now, we have a Republican candidate, Eric Adams, up against him. What's going to happen with the New York City mayoral polls? How critical is it? Let's try and ask Professor Lavanya Vemsani, who plies her wares in the US of A, and she's an author herself. She's been tracking these developments very actively. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow IPCS, should also join us. But Professor Vemsani, namaste. Thank you for your time. Your thoughts. Why is this becoming such a big talking point? Indu Vishwanathan herself has also written a long post as a South Asian living in New York City, why she's concerned. So, your thoughts?
2 points here. He's a concern for India as an anti-Hindu activist. He has embraced all the talking points of anti-Hindu left in New York, in US. As you have mentioned, Khalistani points, as well as, he embraced everything that's anti-Hindu elements in the US. That's one. The second thing is, he doesn't show any real program for the US other than offering a few freebies, which is also concerning for a large city like New York. Any changes in tax structure or any changes in actual things might affect the business communities, business in New York, and really might adversely affect New York. So the two concerns are, it might affect Hindu community, but it might also affect the larger New York community, New York business community especially, because his anti-capitalist policies are a concern to the larger community of New York. On top of that, he embraces this leftist rhetoric and anti-Modi personalist attacks. Personalist attacks are a real concern against an elected prime minister. Which cannot really be tolerated. So lots of concerns, lots of red flags. But this is only a primary. So we have to wait and see how many people vote in a primary. It's just like 5 to 7% of the people. So I don't think this is the end of the game yet. But this candidate is highly concerning no matter what.
Well, we were trying to get Indu on our broadcast, but that's not happened. But I'm just going to quote from what she's written, and it's very interesting. She's saying that his words belie a character, I'm quoting a portion, a character that is performative, opportunistic and deeply undemocratic. He is not a truthful voice of the marginalized, although this is exactly the story he has crafted to rise to power. Mamdani is a projection of an illiberal, anti-intellectual left-wing authoritarianism that has sunk its teeth into progressive politics. The kind of authoritarianism that makes me feel deeply pessimistic about the future of my party. So she's a Democrat herself and she's upset with his rise. So who are the people who are actually backing him then, Lavanya ji? Abhijit Iyer Mitra is also with us.
AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and her group. So Alexandria is slowly crafting her own niche following in New York, and she's opposing Chuck Schumer. So this can be seen as a rift within the Democratic Party, in which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, is trying to wrest the power for herself, for her own faction, from Chuck Schumer's faction. So they're really vocal against Chuck Schumer. So I see this as a big crisis within the Democratic Party rather than an election issue. This is really a crisis within the Democratic Party itself.
So it's a crisis within the Democratic Party itself, and then Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Indu Vishwanathan further writes, very interesting, look at his utterances. So there is a lot of activity in New York City when it comes to Bharat, and there is a huge linkage. And he says one of the most striking examples of how Mamdani does this, that is, he lies and projects the lies as truth, is his recent claim that there are no more Muslims left in Gujarat in India. This isn't just inaccurate or a gentle exaggeration to a land larger, but a more important point. It is the point that it is a deeply irresponsible falsehood. Gujarat is the home to 7 million Muslims today, nearly 10% of the state's population. To put that in perspective, there are more Muslims in Gujarat than there are in the entire US of A. Now, this is how she is now saying, I have a problem with this guy because all he is doing is lies, lies and lies. The Democrats turn around and say Trump is only lying. Trump is a liar. But how is it that they are championing another liar here? Abhijit Iyer Mitra, from their own ranks.
This fellow is championed by all the people that lost the Democrats the 2024 election, which they had on their radars not to lose again. The problem is there is one particular wing of the party, the extreme socialist left wing, as championed by people like AOC, who have projected this person onto the Democratic candidate. The problem is he has not just alienated Hindus and Indians, he's also alienated Jews. He was spearheading the global intifada and things like that. So if you remember, Eric Adams, who is still apparently the mayor, he is now running as an independent. And today I'm seeing that people in droves, there was a traffic jam, there was a full log jam outside Eric Adams' office because Democrats are queuing up now to give Eric Adams an extension. They want to support him instead of going after Zoran Mamdani. Now, Zoran Mamdani is an extremely carefully choreographed and curated character. When you have an anti-colonialist professor as your father and a filmmaker as your mother, you understand what ticks, what does not. You understand the language of this anti-colonial movement. And from your mother, you understand camera angles, storytelling. It doesn't matter if it's a lie. It's a story in his mind, right? This is one great... this is his version of Mississippi masala. It's just Hudson masala, I guess. Hudson on the New York masala, right? He thinks this is funny. It isn't. But all his lies are coming out. The kind of alarm we're seeing even from Democrats in New York is quite heartening. And what are the lies he's catching on to? They're not catching on to the global intifada part where he wants to kill off Jews. They're not catching on to the part where he calls Hindus bastards. They're catching on to the lies he's telling with respect to his powers and the dangerous megalomania. First, he says he's going to increase taxes on that 1%, the top 1%. The mayor of New York does not have the right to do that. You know who has the right to do that? A New York assemblyman, what would be an MLA in India, a legislative assemblyman has the right to pass that motion in the New York Assembly Did he do it as long he was assemblyman? No, he did not. So he's talking about things he cannot do as mayor. The second thing he says is, I will order Netanyahu to be arrested and I will order Modi to be arrested. This is not a power that the New York mayor has. The police have the right to arrest if they see a crime being commissioned. The prosecutor general has the right to order an arrest if they see a premeditated crime, but that is not a power that lies with the New York mayor. Increasingly, I believe, I certainly hope from what I'm seeing, that people are wisening up to this demagogue. This is just another, this is the Muslim version of Hugo Chavez, let's put it that way. And we all know, and New York is going to become the new Venezuela.
But are there no politicians? So I correct myself and I said Eric Adams was a Republican, but he may get support from both sides. He's a Democrat now contesting as an independent. So there's no Republican challenger. Bill Ackman has said he will back a challenger, but there's no Republican. So is the politics bereft of quality people, Lavanya Vemsani, in the US of A?
I am leaning more towards supporting a Republican candidate, and I am actually supporting Bill Ackman for mayor. So hopefully some candidate would come up from the Republican side. But for now though, Bill Ackman said he would support Eric Adams. So Eric Adams definitely is a favorable candidate among the slate of candidates that are there. Unless some candidate comes up from the Republican side, like Bill Ackman, I would really pin my hopes on Eric Adams rather than Mamdani. Mamdani might have won the primaries, but I don't see that as the end of the game. So he might show this alternative reality. He might create this screen persona. He might create all these falsehoods that might seem like a reality. So it's like a movie set. He's creating a movie set and projecting himself as larger than life character, which is possible only in the alternate reality. Because in real life, he hasn't achieved anything. He hasn't done anything. He's a mama's boy. So he did some media gigs with his mom, and that's all he has to his credit. He's projecting himself as larger than life, using the screen casting and using the media.
Let's say, sorry, I'm interrupting you because I'm just trying to understand. Let's say if he becomes mayor, how is it going to hurt Bharat's cause?
It is definitely
because many people are asking, it's a mayoral election in New York City. How does it matter to us? We don't have a mayor. There is no mayor in Mumbai. There is no mayor in Bengaluru. Why are we worried about a mayor in New York City? How does it affect us?
Clearly, the effect is 0.02% because do you remember the London mayor has permitted somebody to fly this balloon, Trump balloon, when he was visiting London as a head of the state, US state? Did he do anything to Trump? Nothing. He visited the Queen, he visited the palace, he was received well, he was, met by droves of people. So, as London. A mayor, it's a really not an effective position to take on a head of a state. So all he could do is maybe fly a balloon. Nothing much, nothing more than that. He can't change Indo-US relations. He can't affect how Modi is seen in the US. He cannot change the tax policies, tax code, or he cannot do anything that he's saying. So all he could do is, just create this alternative persona for himself and try to project himself as larger than life, which is not true. It doesn't affect India in any way. India's overall outlook in the world, Indian Prime Minister's overall outlook in the world, it doesn't affect at all. It only shows him as a fool.
Yeah, but it can create pinprick moments or certain subtle instances of embarrassment where goons are given a free run. He's seen to associate even with the Khalistani goons. Does he then give a free run for such elements when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits New York City, when there is a pro-Bharat something which happens there in terms of a soft engagement between America and Bharat? Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is that a concern? Or also the way politics will be steered? He's mayor tomorrow, he may be somebody else, he may be a senator, or he may be a congressperson, or he may, he may move to a different rank. And is that also showing the shape that American politics is taking?
Yeah, so look, the issue is the police commissioner of New York serves at the pleasure of the mayor of New York. And he has that power, as the Democrats normally do, is that they appoint their own cronies, outright cronies. The real fear is what he does with the police, selective enforcement policies. Remember, Rudy Giuliani had a huge impact on, zero crime, zero tolerance policing and things like that. He can declare full tolerance policing, which means you can't prevent things from being stolen. You hand power to gangs and things like that. You prevent the police, if they attack Hindus, you prevent the police from prosecuting them and so on and so forth. He can lay down guidelines. He can't command the mayor, but he can certainly lay down certain guidelines and things like that, which won't affect India as much as it will affect Hindus, who make up about 3% of New York. And this is very clearly a guy who has a visceral hatred for Hindus, presumably brought on by his father and mother and their past histories in India and Uganda, wherever. That really is the problem. The second problem is the pinpricks. He can similarly have some humiliating stuff sent up in the air, like Dr. Vemsani said. He can have a very insulting blimp. Or, it's very common in America for people to hire these airships and balloons to, for wedding greetings, baseball game greetings, things like that. Do things like that, which will, that's more showmanship. What worries me is this is a man associated with criminals, with a very easy relationship with lying and fakery, from party that is highly nepotistic and corrupt, with a great propensity to unleash violence, with a need, with a past, some kind of a raging hatred to unleash that violence, and the ability to dissociate himself from it.
Point well made. Lavanya ji, final word?
So his personality is concerning, as Abhijit has said. He might associate with these violent elements, might be like San Francisco. There is a concern for violence. But other than that, his reach is limited. As far as international relations are concerned, security of international leaders are concerned, especially Modi, because the security arrangements for the central leaders, great leaders, are done by central agency, FDA. So as far as his political threats, his political projects are concerned, his power is limited. What happens in the future, we don't know. Does AOC's group win within the Democratic Party? That needs to be seen. We have to wait and see what happens with that, with the far left faction of Democratic Party. That's a concern for Democratic Party. But as far as the candidate is concerned, too many red flags, too many falsehoods, too many larger than life persona projections, which are a concern. Other than that, I don't think it affects US relations. It might, it might help the violence, but that's a problem for New York.
It's just a primary. It's just a primary yet, as you said, that there are many Democrats who don't want him there. He doesn't have popular support, so we'll have to wait and watch what happens, how it unfolds. But we've put it out there for our viewers why we had this conversation. Thank you very much, Abhijit Iyer Mitra and Professor Vemsani. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Joining us now is author, columnist Sadanand Dhoom, and let's try and understand what's happening in this region. There are plenty of talking points. Sadanand ji, namaste. This is Anand Narasimhan here. Thank you for your time.
Namaste, Anand. Good to be here.
Good to speak with you. Let's start with the SCO. How would you read Bharat's position at the SCO? Defense Minister Rajnath Singh not signing the document, the joint declaration, but the conversations on the sidelines which China has had both with Pakistan and with Bharat. Ajit Doval met with Wang Yi, and but despite that, the hostilities, are they out in the open? How does Bharat now deal with this China-Pakistan tango?
Look, obviously, the defense minister's decision was the right decision. There is no way that India could be expected to sign on to some kind of statement that deliberately ignores Pahalgam and in fact mentions Balochistan. So India did the right thing. It did the principled thing. There should be some cause for concern that there is some kind of concerted linking up, obviously by the Chinese and Pakistanis. That is not surprising. But the part that should cause some concern to India was either the unwillingness or the inability of the Russians to really kind of bring their own influence to bear on this. So I wouldn't say that I would say that the policy pursued by the government is the correct policy, but obviously the fact that it came to this pass is something that is some cause for concern.
Why do you underline the Russians' non-intervention a cause for concern?
Well, because I think the way to the logic of India being a part of SCO in the first place is that, SCO, everyone knows, is, inherently a Chinese-led organization. But the logic of India being part of it, despite the fact that Pakistan is also part of the SCO, was that India could, with, like-minded powers, perhaps, prevent the SCO from being, completely dominated by China. And so what this signals to me is that Chinese hegemonic influence over the SCO, where they're able to push through, along with their Pakistani allies, where they're able to push through statements or attempt to push through statements rather, that are clearly harmful to India's interests, that does raise questions.
How does Bharat deal with China? One, we know we cannot trust them. Two, we know that their loyalties lie elsewhere because their larger geostrategic interest and their investments are so heavy in Pakistan, they cannot look away from there even if they want to. But we have an undisclosed or let's say undefined border exposure with them. Chinese want de-escalation along the LAC, but can we afford it? The influence or the involvement of the Chinese and their back end in terms of military systems, even in Op Sindoor, is now out in the open. How does Bharat deal with this?
No, it's a great question. Now, look, I don't think that the dominant Chinese interest in Pakistan is economic or anything to do with investments. It's true that they have made investments in CPS, EC, and so on, but this is for China and has always been a strategic play in the subcontinent to keep India off balance, to keep India in a South Asian box, to prevent India from aspiring to global power status or from challenging China in Asia. So that's been China's game all along with Pakistan. That is not something new. What is new is the degree to which they are willing to really cross what ought to be Indian red lines in terms of the depth of their cooperation with Pakistan, including, giving them satellite images and if reports are to be believed, intelligence and so on. So that is obviously problematic. In terms of the broader India-China relationship, it is, India has no choice but to have some kind of relationship. China is a very important country. It's a large neighbor. And I think what India has been trying to do is broadly correct, which is that India has to build up its own defenses, including its defenses on the line of actual control with the Chinese. And at the same time, reason with the Chinese, have talks with the Chinese, and try to minimize the odds of a kind of two-front situation developing, which would obviously be injurious to India's defense interests.
There's an observation made recently by an expert that Bharat's defense expenditure is less than Bharat's exposure in terms of trade with China. Now, how are we going to be secure as a nation if our dependence on trade is so heavy, despite, and this is post-Galwan? Is that
that's a very, very good point, but I look at it a little bit differently. I don't think trade per se is the problem, right? I tend to hold the view that by and large trade is mutually beneficial. The problem with India-China trade is that it's very lopsided, where the Chinese, they do not accept Indian imports, where they export greatly to India. But by and large, I wouldn't worry if India had a large trade relationship with China. The defense spending issue, I think, is a very good point that you raise, because the fact is that if you look at India's defense spending as a percentage of GDP, it's been quite modest. It's been well under 2%. And, given the kinds of security threats that India faces that really crystallized during Operation Sindoor most recently, I think India really has no choice but to up its defense spending. Where it lands, whether it lands at 2.5% of GDP or 3% of GDP, we don't know. But India has no choice but to up its defense spending, and also to try to ensure that a large proportion of the defense spending is towards actual equipment, arms, and not all, not disproportionately towards just salaries and pensions and so on. So that's a very big challenge. I think you put your finger on exactly what the issue is. And I'm pretty sure that the policymakers in Delhi are well aware of this, and we are going to see a boost in India's defense spending in the coming years.
Another aspect in this region is Bangladesh and Bharat's equations with Bangladesh, Chinese proximity to Bangladesh, China getting this trifecta of Pakistan and Bangladesh together, and the latest reports of a temple demolition in Bangladesh. So safety of minorities in Bangladesh. Things seem to have taken a turn for the worse ever since Sheikh Hasina has been ousted and Mohammad Yunus has seated himself as the interim advisor there.
There's absolutely no question there that things have taken a turn for the worse from an Indian perspective. I would argue that things have taken a turn for the worse from a Bangladeshi perspective too. Look, the Bangladeshis, they may have their sort of, resentments. I think smaller countries often have resentments towards larger countries. We see that, for example, in the Mexico-US relationship. And India should be and has been, mature about taking some of that in their stride. But what Bangladesh is trying to do now, which is particularly unwise, considering that Mohammad Yunus is not even heading an elected government, that this unelected government of kind of cobbled together by NGOs and Islamists or Islamist adjacent groups is frankly something that Bangladeshis themselves need to be worrying about, because to put it very simply and to put it very bluntly, Bangladesh cannot imagine having any kind of economic future if it continues to provoke India and if it refuses to have a good, stable relationship with India. Do I believe that India should try to meet Bangladesh halfway? Do I believe that good relations with Bangladesh are in India's interest also? Absolutely. Do I think that India and Bangladesh should have more trade and people-to-people contact? Absolutely. But Bangladesh has to get out of this habit that it has got into recently under Yunus of needlessly poking a finger in India's eye. And it must understand that if it continues to do that, the results for Bangladesh and for the Bangladeshi people would not be very good.
How are these nations able to do this? Mohammad Yunus was unseated, and it's an open secret the American deep state was involved. But now he is hanging around with the Chinese. The Pakistanis offer airspace and cover again between Iran and Israel for the Americans. And Asim Munir has lunch with President Trump. While at the SCO, China gives Pakistan cover fire. How are these nations able to manage this? And how does India, sort this out?
Look, the world is a complicated place. No one country can, has some great ability to affect every aspect of the internal politics of another country. I have a different read about how Yunus came to power. I don't think that this was some machination by the US, as you suggest. I do think that what happened was that Sheikh Hasina over time became deeply unpopular, and that some of the civil society groups and so on that were at the forefront of agitating against her also happened to be sort of in line with US, USAID and so on. But I don't think it was this sort of crude idea that the US decided over Hasina has to go. I think basically what happened is that over time she lost her grip on power, partly because she herself made several mistakes. Be that as it may, I think it's a very complicated situation. And I think you do see the Pakistanis trying to maneuver, for example, to get the ear of President Trump, in which they've been quite successful. You mentioned Field Marshal Asim Munir's visit to the White House. But I also think that, we shouldn't have, too much of a sense of doom and gloom about this. That if you kind of compare, for example, the hand that India is playing with the hand that Pakistan is playing, this is not a replay of the 1970s or the 1980s. India has an enormously larger trade relationship with the US. It is an enormously more important country to the US in terms of foreign policy and strategic interests. Pakistan may be sort of, here and there be able to show flashes of tactical strength or tactical intelligence. But I think the broader strategic picture from is very, very clear that Pakistan has been diminished as a competitor to India. And the gap between India and Pakistan, which is already enormous, just continues to grow every year. So I wouldn't sort of worry over that on the long term, but I do think that in the short term we should worry about, in particular, the Pakistan-China de facto alliance.
Final question around West Asia, Iran, Israel. This recent action, this 12-day war, has this left this region more stable or more unstable in looking ahead into the future?
I think a lot of that, the answer to that depends on what kind of damage the Israelis and the Americans have inflicted on Iran's nuclear program. If the American B-2 bombings have been successful, and I think the preponderance of evidence right now does suggest that they've been successful, then I think that we have at least earned perhaps a few years of this problem kind of going away. In the longer term, I think the problem really is with the revolutionary regime in Iran. It's a fundamentally unstable. It's a tragedy for the Iranian people, who are very talented people, very intelligent people. It's a nation that should be producing many more mathematicians and scientists and artists and great filmmakers. It already does that, but it should be doing much more. And I think that the potential of the Iranian people will probably only be fully unshackled once they are no longer led by a revolutionary regime of clerics.
You mentioned an interesting incident with the anecdote with the Iranian cab driver.
Yes, I had, I'm actually in Delhi right now, but when I was on the way to the airport from Washington, my Uber driver happened to be an Iranian American, and we got to talking, and it was very, very interesting because he was basically, I mentioned this on my Twitter feed. He was, I thought he would be very upset because, normally, people are, because, bombs were going off in Tehran. But he kind of, seemed to had such a deep hatred for the regime in Iran that had forced him and his family to flee. And he was happy that the Israelis were in particular targeting the IRGC, which is a particularly thuggish group linked to the regime. So I did mention that in my X post.
Sadanand Dhoom, thank you so much. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Sadanand Dhume, thank you very much. Thank you for speaking with us. Look forward to more conversations. Thank you.
All the best, Anand.
Thank you. Namaste.
Viewers, you're watching The Hard Facts, and I'm pained to tell you that there's been, once again, a dastardly incident. A case chillingly similar to the RG Kaur incident. A student of the South Calcutta Law College has been allegedly gang raped on campus. 3 accused have been arrested and sent to police custody till the 1st of July. CNN News 18 has accessed the survivor's statement. She says one of the accused proposed to her, sought physical relations, and when she refused, they forced themselves on her. She was allegedly taken to the guard room, raped and blackmailed with the video of the ordeal. The accused threatened to circulate it online, even beat the survivor